Hello students, this is Dr. Henry and I'm your instructor for this keyboarding course. The information that you'll see in this short video applies to those who are learning to keyboard for the first time and for those who are advancing in their skill. All right, I want to say that keyboarding is a lifelong skill. It's essential for every industry. No matter what career path you take, you are going to have to use a computer that's possibly a PC or a laptop or other devices where you're going to have to key in information. So this particular skill that we're learning or advancing in applies to every industry. And it also applies to your personal life. There are things that you may type for your personal use, and you want to do so effectively and efficiently. So, some of the things I just want to point out is that practice makes perfect. So, the more you do it, the better you practice and the more energy and focus you put into it, the better your outcome will be. So, the better your accuracy will be and the better your speed will be. Lastly, you want to continually improve. And by that, I mean, if you begin this course at one speed or words per minute that you're able to type, as you go through the course, you want to continually improve on that. So if you start with a word per minute of 10 words per minute, meaning that you can successfully type 10 words per minute with 3 or fewer errors. If that's where you start, that's not where you want to end. So somewhere along the middle of the course, you want to improve on that. And definitely by the end of the course, you want to improve on that. As a standard, you would like to do 30 or 40 minutes, words per minute, with 3 or fewer errors. And that is just kind of a midline, baseline, but there are people who type 60, 70, 80 words per minute with 3 or fewer errors. So, however, for those of you who are just starting, I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I do want to let you know that you can continually improve as you go through the course. All right, so what is this course all about? What are we going to do? What is this little talk about? It's going to be about what you're going to demonstrate in this course. And so things that I want you to demonstrate is correct posture, finger placement, and technique. And I'm going to explain all of those in just a second. And the technique that we're using in this class is the touch key method. For those of you who may or may not be familiar, it's the method that uses home row keys, and it's called home row because just like how you start at home, you start your day at home, you go do whatever you're going to do, whether it's work, school, or whatever, and then you come back home, you start at home and you end at home. And that's exactly what we do in keyboarding. All right, so let's start with posture. Posture has 7 elements. First, your eyes. Well, actually, first needs to be how you are seated. You need to be seated at a table or desk. You need to be sitting up straight. And as you can see, the next thing after eyes is your back. You need to be sitting up straight and your back to the back of the chair. You do not need to be slouched or in a bed or on a couch. You should be in a hard back chair, or, it could be cushioned, but it needs to have an aligned back where you're sitting up straight with your feet flat on the floor. That'll be one of the things we get to last. And so your eyes need to be focused directly on your computer, not on your fingers. When you look at your fingers in keyboarding, you're cheating because your eyes are cheating for your fingers. You want your brain and your finger muscles to work together to learn the keys. So your eyes should be on the computer screen or document that you're typing. Your back should be aligned straight to the back of the chair you're sitting in. Your elbows should be positioned at your sides, which is where they naturally fall if you're sitting up. Your wrist should be low but not touching your desk or the keyboard. Your fingers should be curved and sitting upright over the home row keys, and we're going to look at home row keys in a second. Your knees should be bent forward if your feet are flat on the floor, and that's where they need to be. All right, so here's a visual of what I was just talking about. This person is not on a couch. They're not in their bed. If you're going to learn to type correctly using the touch key method, you need to be sitting up straight to do so. Now, of course, this computer is an older model that she has in this visual, but the way she is sitting is correct posture, and keyboarding correctly starts with posture. You need to be sitting up straight. Her eyes are on the keyboard or the document she's typing, not looking at her fingers. When you look at your fingers, you are cheating because your fingers should learn where the keys are by touch. That is the touch key method. Okay? All right, so finger placement, there again, this is an older keyboard, but most keyboards still have what is called the alphanumeric keyboard, where it has alphabets, letters, numbers, and symbols. If you have the expanded keyboard, you'll also have the number pad, and we do cover that in this course. And then you may have function keys. Even most laptops have all of these keys. Now, these keys are raised up. So remember, we talked about your fingers being curved and upright over the keyboard. Notice that there's a little space. She doesn't have a bend in her fingers, but I'm going to show you that in just a second. But when you have your fingers on the keys, they should be sitting up straight. They should not be flat where the palm of your hand is touching the keyboard. Your fingers should be curved, sort of like this visual in the top of our PowerPoint. His fingers are curved. They're not flat. All right, so finger placement, home row keys start with your left hand and it's ASDF, thumb on space bar, and then your right hand is on, both thumbs are on the space bar, and then your fingers on the right hand are JKL semicolon. And if you look at your keyboard, you'll see this. And I think I have a visual. I'm gonna just kind of skip to what I have. But here are the home row keys, and notice this person's fingers are curved and their fingertips are sitting on the top of each letter and thumbs are on the space bar. And that's the proper finger positioning that you should have every time you type. The lessons that you're going to go through in the system online is going to teach you a couple of letters at a time. It should start with home row because that's the first you're going to learn, and you're going to type what you see on the screen, but your eyes should be focused on the screen, not on your fingers. The way you know that your fingers are placed correctly on the J and F keys, you may have never noticed this, there should be a small indicator or raised button or dot or slash. And if you slide your finger across it, it lets you know, hey, I'm now back on F on your left hand and J on your right hand, and that lets you know you're back on home row correctly. All right, so let me go back. Okay, so we talked about finger placement. All right, now technique. Okay, so technique starts with posture, which is what we just talked about. And then the next thing, finger position and placement. We just talked about that. Now, how do you strike the keys? You should strike them gently. And if you're typing a key that's not on home row, your fingers are going to go up above home row or below home row, or they may go to the left or right, depending on if it's a symbol you're typing with your pinky fingers. But then you should return back to home row after you strike that key. You'll see this as you go, but you should begin on home row, strike the key you need to gently and quickly, and then bring your fingers back to home row. Okay, the more you type, the better your accuracy and speed will be. So what is accuracy? Accuracy is hitting the correct key at the correct time, whether that's a letter, number, or symbol. So if you're trying to type the name Susan, it's Susan. If your first letter is J, that is not accurate. So you want to improve accuracy, and that is hitting the correct key at the correct time, even in the correct case, because as we go, you're going to learn shift keys and you're going to learn how to capitalize and uncapitalize letters. So that's accuracy. And then speed, of course, is how fast you type. And in keyboarding, it is measured by the words you type per minute. So you'll often see WPM, or you may even see GWPM. GWPM is gross words per minute, meaning that you have not accounted for errors. This is just how many words you can type in a minute, or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or whatever the time writing is. And it doesn't account for errors if it's GWPM, but your WPM, which is the words per minute that you type, that'll include errors. And so that'll take your speed down when you have so many errors. All right, for those of you who are beginning or just learning, you'll probably have up to 6 errors allowed. But for those of you who are advancing or in a more advanced keyboarding course, you should not go above 3 errors in a minute's time. All right, now another way to improve on your technique is to type every day. And my classes are set up to require students to type one lesson per day because as you type, and if you're using the correct touch key method, your brain and your fingers are working together to memorize where the keys are, alphabets, numbers, and symbols, as long as you don't cheat by using your eyes. So don't look at the keyboard while you're typing. Look at the screen, look at your document if you're typing a document. But for us in this computer based class, you should be looking at your screen and having your fingers on home row. And then, based on the drills that you've learned, you should go to the correct letter. Okay. Now, in the beginning, if you need to make sure you're back positioned on home row, do that. But once you've gone through the lesson to learn where the keys are, practice makes perfect. So the more you practice those keys, the better off you'll be. If you start using your eyes, you're gonna stifle your growth. You're gonna stifle or let's say limit your speed and accuracy because then you're gonna start using your eyes. When you stop typing and look down, you're losing speed because now you have to stop, look down, find the letter, number, or symbol, and then start again. All of that wastes time. When you learn it through muscle memory, your fingers do the work and your brain works with your fingers. And this builds muscle memory and it only is built over time. So, in the same way that a bodybuilder, if on their first day bodybuilding, they don't have ripped up muscles on day one or day two. It's years later that they build up that muscle tone. So the same thing is true of keyboarding. So make yourself type one lesson per day, and the lessons, are not long. But when you do that repetitive action of learning each day, it helps you in the long run. All right, so we talked about keys, we talked about finger placement. Remember that as you type, and then demonstrating your skill through typing, and you'll have several activities throughout the semester to do that. All right, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you can email me at shenry@lawsonstate.edu. Have a wonderful, awesome, great semester.